Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
Hello everyone, my name is Omar Mendez, and today we're going to be talking about Jon Gruden finally being back with the Raiders after so many seasons of every offseason there being a rumor, oh, Jon Gruden's thinking about coming back. The Raiders want Jon Gruden back with the Raiders. It finally actually happened, and it happened in an offseason where I wasn't even expecting it, because I thought to myself, okay, the team declined. They went from 12-4 in 2016 to 6-10 in 2017, and I thought to myself, well, a lot of that had to do with the offense declining under Todd Downing. But if we can get rid of him and find someone else to fix the offense, you know, we can get this thing rolling again. But according to Mark Davis, we just needed to swap out Jack Del Rio. And I kind of see why he might have wanted to make this move now, with a couple of seasons left before the Raiders' impending move to Las Vegas. He needs a flashy new head coach signing to get people excited. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was impossible, or I thought it was least likely to happen this offseason, since Jack Del Rio got a 4-year extension last offseason. But just goes to show what little fans or analysts know about football, when boom, on the offseason where it makes the least sense to hire Jon Gruden, he comes back. So yeah, that happened. There was, with the head coach change, there was going to be always going to be turnaround as far as coaching staff. And it would have been nice to see Jon Gruden maybe try to keep offensive line head coach Mike Tice, but he opted not to do that. As you guys all know, Mike Tice is a fan favorite. You know, he developed many Pro Bowlers throughout his tenure here with the Raiders. He actually left the Falcons because he wanted to join the Raiders staff back when he first joined with them. I think in 2016 we had something crazy like 3/5 of our offensive line made the Pro Bowl. So yeah, it would have been nice to see him retained, but I guess, you know, with turnover means that he gets a fresh start when hopefully he finds you know, greener pasture wherever he goes, you know. Also, it would have been nice to see them keep DC John Pagano. As we all know, when he took over mid-season, the defense, it was like night and day. It was like completely different from what we had seen for the past 2-3 seasons under Ken Norton Jr. So it was nice to see him take over and actually make this defense reach its potential from what we'd been knowing that it could be with the with Khalil Mack, with Bruce Irvin. We actually had some interceptions by Sean Smith instead of some poor coverage, so it was nice. I think Reggie Nelson had himself an interception as well, which is unheard of. So it was nice to see all that happen. Unfortunately, like I said, with turnover, you lose a lot of your staff. So John Pagano is not coming back. Now I do want to talk about the coaches that are being brought in by Jon Gruden. We actually got Greg Olsen from the Rams. As you guys know, Greg Olsen was previously Raiders OC back in from 2013-2014. He was actually Carr's first ever OC, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of people kind of didn't like the signing. They were like, oh my gosh, why are we going back to our previous ways, back when Carr wasn't as good as he can be. But according to many people, him and Derek had a good relationship. They just didn't have the best wide receiving core back in the day, so that might have played a factor in the fact that they couldn't get that offense going. And as you all know, we saw what the Rams were able to do this season. I don't think anyone expected that. But this is kind of like this signing, Coach Greg Olsen is not that important, because I do expect Jon Gruden to be calling most of the offensive play calls. So yeah, this is more of like a guy who can get the offense knowing what to do, and then the rest it just comes out to Jon Gruden calling plays. So if we have another situation where the play calls aren't being executed that well, it won't be on Greg Olson so much as it will be on John Gruden. We also got a new DC, Paul Gunther, if I'm saying that right. We got him from the Bengals. I can't say that I know too much about the Bengals defense. I know that they get a lot of penalties, but other than that, as far as I know, I never hear people talking about the Bengals defense being elite or so. So I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that we don't hear about the Bengals defense being so bad, because the Raiders could use some stability on defense. I mean, we're talking about the defense that's been under some pretty bad coaching ever since the start of the Reggie McKenzie era. So yeah, it could be good for the Raiders. Then we have Rich Basham. Again, I don't know too much about the Cowboys special team other than the fact that they let Tyreek run in a touchdown on a seemingly impossible play. Maybe that doesn't bode well for a lot of Raider fans that they hired him. But I'm sure he's just a middle of the pack guy who actually he has coaching ties with John Gruden. I think he coached with him back in Tampa. He was his assistant head coach as well. Maybe that's the reason why he brought him in. Maybe some of the older heads, he wanted to get some of his old staff back together. Hopefully it works out for the best. They also brought in Tom Campbell. A lot of fans had a lot of problems with this signing, myself included. Tom Campbell with the Seahawks. He was, to put it lightly, very bad with the Seahawks. His O-line was consistently one of the worst. After getting as much talent, drafting a bunch of linemen, they just could never get it right with the Seahawks. And his style of coaching offensive linemen, he's a zone blocking guy. The Raiders offense is Raiders line is built to be a power blocking line. So we'll just see how that goes. With Tom Cable, I just expect it to I expect him to do whatever John Gruden wants him to do. I don't expect him to take over and, be the main guy that takes over the offensive line. The offense will run as John Gruden wants it to run. So again, this is just a guy who they brought in. We also have wide receiver coach Edgar Bennett from the Packers. I think he was their former OC. We brought him in, which to me was a very good signing. I mean, if you look at the Packers and how many wide receivers they've developed from inside the organization, guys like Jordy Nelson, guys like Randall Cobb, guys like Devontae Adams, which is Derek Carr's former teammate. Yeah, I was very excited about this signing. I was like, if he can develop those type of wide receivers with the Packers, why can't he do that with the Raiders? So I expect good things from him. We also got defensive back coach Derek Ansley from Alabama. I thought this could be a good signing. I mean, he has developed first round talent. Marlon Humphreys. He also he would have coached Minka Fitzpatrick coming into this year's draft, which I fully expect to be a first round pick. He also developed a guy who last season had a monster game with the Bears in Eddie Jackson. Had he not been injured in college, I think he would have gone higher in the draft. But yeah, he's developed a lot of good offense. Got a lot of good defensive backs, so I expect him to do just as good in Oakland. We also got running backs coach Jamal Singleton from the Colts. And Jamal Singleton, a lot of people don't know this, but he actually got Frank Gore over 1,000 yards this past offseason. That was the first Colts running back to pass 1,000 yards since 2007, if I'm not mistaken. He's only been with the Colts for about 2 years, but I mean, John Gruden has enough confidence in him, and that he brought him in. I mean, first 1,000 yard season in 10 years is not nothing. That's a pretty good accomplishment, especially with an aging running back like Frank Gore. So yeah, if you can replicate that with our young running backs, and yeah, I fully expect that to be a good signing. Another very underrated pickup was actually Mike Chagovac. I'm pretty sure that's how your name. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. He's an underrated pickup, but you guys all know the Packers defensive line has been very good throughout the years. And to bring him in after bringing in other Packers wide receiver coach Edgar Bennett is a really good sign. The Raiders are actually getting players from other coaching staffs to want to come to Oakland, which is also very good. So yeah, I expect our defensive line to vastly improve under him after how bad it was this past season. And what does that mean for what is all of this? What do all the coaching staff mean for players currently on the Raider roster that are on the bubble, whether they be unrestricted free agents or players that are under contract but could easily be cut to save some money? Let's take a look at that. We have Reggie Nelson. As you guys all know, Reggie Nelson is the team captain on defense. However, he's already 34 years old, or he will be 34 years old when the season starts. We brought back his old DC from when he had a monster season. I think it was back in 2015 if I'm not mistaken, where he had 8 interceptions, which led the league. I expect this one to go either way. I expect the Raiders to want to keep an older guy to kind of mentor the younger safeties. As you guys know, we have Carl Joseph and Obi Melifonwu. So this one could go either way. I would really rather they sign someone else, but I can't see them not considering bringing him back for another season. Next, we have Marshawn Lynch, who, believe it or not, I believe he was one of the lone bright spots on offense this past offseason. You guys all know him. He's a Oakland native. He's a fan favorite. People love him. But in this recent interview with new OC Greg Olsen, he was asked questions about Marshawn and whether or not he would consider bringing him back, and he actually declined to answer questions on that. So, I mean, as you guys all know, where there's smoke, there's fire. So, I expect them likely to be out come this offseason, but I don't see why Mark Davis would want to go that route, getting rid of a fan favorite Oakland native just because your OC is not so comfortable with him in your system. It really could go either way. Next, we have Navarro Bowman. He was a mid-season pickup. He was cut by the 49ers. As you guys all know, immediately as he came into the roster, he started that game the week he was signed, I think, against the Chiefs. And, you can already tell immediately he was the best Raiders inside linebacker. As you guys already know, Gruden likes veterans. Back in 2002 when he was still with the Raiders, we had guys like Rich Gannon, Tim Brown, and then we had Jerry Rice, all players well over the age of 30. So Gruden likes veterans. He likes going with the older guys that know what to do. So I mean, in an interview that he had with Paul Gutierrez out of ESPN, he also said himself that he would likely want to come back. Gruden is a good coach, and he would like to want to try to work with them. So I think it'll all come down to money and whether or not they can get that worked out. But I expect there to be a lot of cuts this offseason, so I expect there to be a lot of money in the cap in order to extend guys that they want to extend. So it'll all come down to money and whether or not they think he's worth it. Then we have Sean Smith, who had completely awful the first 2 seasons with Oakland. And then as soon as Pagano became head coach, he became one of the Raiders' best cornerbacks. It just goes to show what good coaching does with talented players. Age might be a factor with Sean Smith, though. I feel like his age might keep him from being as fast as some of the younger guys. Some of the guys like the former first-round pick Garyon Conley or David Amerson. So if it becomes between David Amerson and Sean Smith being cut, I expect it to be Sean Smith based on the simple fact that he's older and he's getting paid more money. So yeah, if it comes down to the two, I fully expect it to be Sean Smith. Next we have Michael Crabtree, and many people might say, well, why Crabtree? You know, he's been Derek Carr's favorite target for the past 3 seasons. Well, he has a lot of drops, a lot of crucial drops, and age might be an attributing factor. He is getting up there. I think he's 30 years old at the time, and he also has an attitude problem. As much as we like seeing him do a keep to leave like Michael Orr did that one kid on the blind side, it's just become too much for the Raiders to deal with. As you guys know, John Gruden is a real in-your-face type of guy. I don't know if he'll want to take that type of stuff from Michael Crabtree. So if Gruden will have the final decision on this, whether he wants to deal with this attitude and hope that he contributes as much as he contributed in 2016. Or, you know, he wants to go the younger route, find someone in free agency or in the draft that can replicate that with for less money. So it'll just come down to Gruden. Next we have Sebastian Janikowski. As you guys know, Sebastian Janikowski is the last player on the Raider rosters to still be here ever since John Gruden left back in 2002, which is amazing. That's a 15-year span in which Janikowski has still been with the Raiders. And to see him still be here while Gruden was gone for 15 years is crazy. However, you guys know that he's missed a lot of crucial kicks. You know, I think it was last season when we played Tampa in Tampa. I think we had like 3 or 4 opportunities to win the game, and he just kept whiffing on kicks. It might have been wind, might have been a factor, but I'm not too sure. But he just kept whiffing on kicks. Add that to the fact that Giorgio Tavecchio, longtime Raiders practice squad guy, finally got promoted. I can completely see why they would want to go with the younger guy instead and let go of Janikowski. I honestly don't see them keeping him.
How's it hanging, Phil?